Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 17 of Inktober. We are in 17 days, guys. It's been, oh my God, I've been absolutely loving this. We've been, like I said, we've been every single day. We've had a different prompt because of Inktober's prompt. We are keeping with the official list, and yeah, we're on day 17. Today's prompt word is ornament. I looked up the word ornament and I saw the definition of ornament, and I'll get Google to ask to tell you what that what that is. So Google, what's the definition of ornament?
Here's the definition of ornament. A thing used or serving to make something look more attractive, but usually having no practical purpose, especially a small object such as a figurine.
And there we go. Because I thought, when I first looked up the just an image on the internet and said what an ornament, it said that kind of thing. Especially if we're not in the actual month of Xmas itself. So ornament is also, as you heard there, it's a thing you would put on a shelf, or you would put on, or an ornament you would place around the house. And I have quite a few. Let's have a quick look over there. I have, as you can see over there, I've got quite a few different ornaments on the shelf. I've got quite a few different ornaments up on that shelf. Yeah, I make my own kind of. I make my own kind of ornaments as well, guys. We're in my studio at the moment, but yeah, I thought I'd have a go at drawing this ornament here for you guys today, as I'll be using my fine line pen. I've only got one. It's actually one size. Do the same thing. That one's running out, but yeah, it's a 7.0 inking pen, 7.0 Uniball. If you haven't been checking them out, that's about the only pen I use. I will use fatter pens such as Sharpies and scrap sheet scribblers, I think they're called, and a few maybe Copic markers and different things. And we've got this felt tip in the middle here, which I always use for shading. We're going to be trying to draw this ornament here, as this one's been sitting on my shelf for a while. As you can see, all the dust on there. It's been on the shelf for a while. I don't clean my ornaments, especially with the wizardy ones, because I like the effect that the dust gets on the things like that, because it gives it more character, I believe. But yeah, in future, I might have a go at making something like this in polymer clay. This is obviously store-bought. I broke it many moons ago, but yeah, it's been on my shelf for many years, and because it's got a wizardy beard, I love drawing beards. I do have another ornament with like an angel type thing, but I find that quite unlucky to draw. So because I've drawn it once and stuff happened to me afterwards, so I'm a bit superstitious. Another reason why I won't draw an ornament for a Xmas tree day. But yeah, we're going to be drawing this today. I've got a lovely playlist in the background. It's not from Audible, so I shouldn't get any copyright on this one. But today's is a day 17 of Inktober. If we'll quickly have a quick rundown of what we've done already. We've got on day 1 was Ring, and day 2 was Mindless. And you can't actually see what I'm doing here. Mindless. Day 3 was Bait. Day 4 was Freeze. Day 5 was Build, and again, I didn't time to go into my Minecraft world, but I did finish off the game called Witness. But what Charcoal Dragon showed me after I'd finished the game with his help, that there's more in a cave, in a cavern. If you want me to check that one out, check out that video and see what you think. But yeah, there's plenty of uploads of my Minecraft tower. This is my sleep station. This is my jump tower, or there's a jump area. And it's also my tower of flight, which once we've reached the top, we're going to be flying off to another area. But that's Mondays and Tuesdays. That's on Mixer. And day 6 was Husky. I thought it said enhanced. It was enchanted. That's another video. It's still not available to watch. This here is day 8, and that was Frail. And then this was my favorite picture. I've actually got this on my phone now as a lock screen, because I like it that much. But as my lock screen there, and yeah, I love this picture. It's a good thing, and I did explain why I like this picture in the video itself, and a couple of videos after that one. That was day. Oh my god, I get confused. What day is 9? And this is day 10, where I did the word was pattern. I'm sorry, the word before that was swing, And Day was pattern. If you know what this pattern is from, let me know. It's on Netflix. This one was snow. So I did an abominable snowman, as you can see there. It's a bit creepy. And then we did day 10 was dragon, which really enjoyed listening to that playlist in the background. So audiobook in the background. There's quite a few different ones because it got a bit rude, so I changed it up a bit. But I really enjoyed drawing that one, and that one's going to be digitized, inked out, and it will be available once I've colored all of that, guys. Probably closer to Christmas time, and yeah, I'm gonna be trying to sell some stuff. But if you just want a poster of that as the back of your phone, like I have here, then I will be making them into phone backgrounds and things like that, and color them in there once I've got my Critter app up and running again. And then day something, I'm going to say day 12 was Ash, which we, as you know, I finished the game God of War a couple of weeks ago, and this is the end scene for the story mode, and where they scatter the ashes. If you haven't seen the game, go and check it out, guys. It's all up on my playlists. And then on day, whatever day that was, I have no idea now. That's 16, 15, so that's 14. I did a picture, and the word was overgrown, and it's a picture of Maleficent, I can't say the word, from Sleeping Beauty, and the thorns that grow up around her. Day 14 was the day? Legend, and that is from the DVD or film I Am Legend, and that's my depiction of the cover of that thing. If you want to check that video out for the cover, it is either on our Instagram, or you can go check the video out, guys, in the playlist Inktober. Yesterday was another DVD, which The Wild Things, because the word was wild, and I thought I'd have a go at drawing that cover there. And yeah, I did a little bit extra just up in the top here, and try to make this a little bit darker and a bit fatter, because it was looking a bit too drab, and you couldn't really see what was going on with it behind the tree. So the Wild Things for that day. Today again is Ornament. We're going to be drawing my one of my ornaments from off the top of my shelves and out my window, whatever. It sort of moves around wherever I feel like I want to put it. But yeah, we're going to be trying to draw this one today. I've got an actual physical thing to draw instead of an image, so we'll see how well I get on with this one, because I'm going to be trying to keep close to this picture as possible. And yeah, we're going to be listening to a good audiobook in the background. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, you can do. We are live right now, but if you are watching back, then feel free to still leave a comment down below. I will always check them. I get a message on my phone to say that you guys have left a message. No matter what time of day, I will answer that as long as I'm not sleeping. But otherwise, enjoy today's video, because we're going to be listening to The Wizard by H. Rider Haggard, full audiobook. Part 1 to 3. Little box recording, so we should be okay with it. But if you do enjoy it, guys, do let me know. And I will eventually put all of the playlists and all the audiobooks that I do listen to in the comment section as soon as humanly possible.
Chapter 1 of The Wizard. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Michael Monholland. The Wizard by H. Rider Haggard, Chapter 1, The Deputation. Has the age of miracle quite gone by, or is it still possible to the voice of faith calling aloud upon the earth to wring from the dumb heavens an audible answer to its prayer? Does the promise uttered by the Master of mankind upon the eve of the end,
took it so because of
the works that I do, he shall do also,
vines around
and
him.
whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that will I do, still hold good to such as do ask and do believe? Let those who care to study the history of the Reverend Thomas Owen, and of that strange man who carried on and completed his work, answer this question according to their judgment. The time was a Sunday afternoon in summer.
If this dude's reading doesn't get any better, I might change it. It sounds a bit flat.
A beautiful church,
not very inspiring.
Spacious. Moreover, it had recently been restored at great cost. 7 or 800 people could have found sittings in it, and doubtless they had done so when Buscombe was a large manufacturing town, before the failure of the coal supply and other causes drove away its trade. Now it was much what it had been in the time of the Normans. a little agricultural village with a population of 300 souls. Out of this population, including the choir boys, exactly 39 had elected to attend church on this particular Sunday, and of these, 3 were fast asleep and 4 were dozing. The Reverend Thomas Owen
marking out the area a
his
minute.
seat in the chancel, for another clergyman was preaching, and as he counted, bitterness and disappointment took hold of him. The preacher was a deputation sent by one of the large missionary societies to arouse the indifferent to a sense of duty towards their unconverted black brethren in Africa, and incidentally to collect cash to be spent in the conversion of the said brethren. The Reverend Thomas Owen himself suggested the visit of the deputation and had labored hard to secure him a good audience. But the beauty of the weather or terror of the inevitable subscription prevailed against him. Hence his disappointment. Well, he thought with a sigh, I have done my best, and I must make it up out of my own pocket. Then he settled himself to listen to the sermon. The preacher, a battered-looking individual of between 50 and 60 years of age, was gaunt with recent sickness, patient and unimaginative in aspect. He preached extemporarily with the aid of notes, and it cannot be said that his discourse was remarkable for interest, at any rate in its beginning. Doubtless the sparse congregation, so prone to slumber, discouraged him, for offering exhortations to empty benches is but weary work. Indeed, he was meditating the advisability of bringing his argument to an abrupt conclusion.
So I'm just joining the base there.
Round, he became aware that he had at least one sympathetic listener, his host, the Reverend Thomas Owen. From that moment, the sermon improved by degrees, till at length it reached a really high level of excellence. Ceasing from rhetoric, the speaker began to tell of his own experience and sufferings in the cause among savage tribes, for he himself was a missionary of many years' standing. He told how once he and a companion had been sent to a nation who named themselves the Sons of Fire, because their god was the lightning, if indeed they could be said to boast any gods other than the spear and the king. In simple language, he narrated his terrible adventures among these savages, the murder of his companion by the command of the Council of Wizards, and his own flight for his life, a tale so interesting in visit that even the bucolic sleepers awakened and listened open-mouthed. But this is by the way, he went on, for my society does not ask you to subscribe towards the conversion of the children of fire. Until that people is conquered, which very likely will not be for generations, seeing that they live in Central Africa, occupying a territory that white men do not desire, no missionary will dare again to visit them. At this moment, something caused him to look a second time at Thomas Owen. He was leaning forward in his place, listening eagerly, and a strange light filled the large dark eyes that shone in the pallor of his delicate, nervous face. There is a man who would dare if he were put to it, thought the deputation to himself. Then he ended his sermon. That evening, the two men sat at dinner in the rectory. It was a very fine rectory, beautifully furnished, for Owen was a man of taste, which he had the means to gratify. Also, although they were alone, the dinner was good. So good that the poor broken-down missionary, sipping his unaccustomed port, a vintage wine, sighed aloud in admiration and involuntary envy. What is the matter? Asked Owen. Nothing, Mr. Owen. And then, of a sudden thawing into candor, he added, that is everything. Heaven forgive me, but I, who enjoy your hospitality, am envious of you. Don't think too hardly of me. I have a large family to support, and if only you knew what a struggle my life is, and has been for the last 20 years, you would not, I am sure. But you have never experienced it and could not understand. The laborer is worthy of his hire. Well, my hire is under 200 a year, and 8 of us must live, or starve, on it. And I have worked, until my health is broken. A laborer indeed. I am a very hodman, a spiritual Sisyphus, and I now must go back to carry my load and roll my stone again and again among those hopeless savages till I die of it. Till I die of it. At least it is a noble life and death, exclaimed Owen, a sudden fire of enthusiasm burning in his dark eyes. Yes, viewed from a distance. Were you asked to leave this living of 2,000 a year, I see that is what they put it at in Crockford, with its English comforts and easy work, that you might lead that life and attain that death, then you would think differently. But why should I bore you with such talk? Thank heaven that your lines are cast in pleasant places. Yes, please, I will take one more glass. It does me good. Tell me some more about that tribe you were speaking of in your sermon. The Sons of Fire, I think you called them, said Owen as he passed him the decanter. So, with an eloquence induced by the generous wine and a quickened imagination, the deputation told him many strange things, and terrible. For this people was an awful people, vigorous in mind and body, and warriors from generation to generation, but superstition-ridden and cruel. They lived in the far interior, some months' journey by boat and ox wagon from the coast, and of white men and their ways they knew but little. How many of them are there? Asked Owen. Who can say? He answered. Nearly 500,000, perhaps. At least they pretend that they can put 60,000 men under arms. And did they treat you badly when you first visited them? Not at first. They received us civilly enough, and on a given day we were requested to explain to the king and the council of wizards the religion which we came to teach. All that day we explained, and all the next, or rather my friend did, for I knew very little of the language, and they listened with great interest. At last the chief of the wizards, and the first prophet to the king, rose to question us. He was named Hokosa, a tall, thin man with a spiritual face and terrible, calm eyes. You speak well, son of a white man, he said, but let us pass from words to deeds. You tell us that this God of yours, whom you desire that we should take as our God, so that you may become his chief prophets in the land, was a wizard such as we are, though greater than we are. For not only did he know the past and the future as we do, but also he could cure those who were smitten with hopeless sickness, and raise those who were dead, which we cannot do. You tell us, moreover, that by faith those who believe on him can do works as great as he did, and that you do believe on him. Therefore we will put you to the proof. Ho, there, lead forth that evil one. As he spoke, a man was placed before us, one who had been convicted of witchcraft or some other crime. Kill him, said Hokosa. There was a faint cry, a scuffle, and a flash of spears, and the man lay still before us. Now, followers of the new God, said Hokosa, raise him from the dead as your master did. In vain did we offer explanations. Peace, said Hokosa at length. Your words weary us. Look now, either you have preached to us a false God and are liars, or you are traitors to the king you preach, since, lacking faith in him, you cannot do such works as he gives power to do to those who have faith in him. Out of your own mouths are you judged, white men. Choose which horn of the bull you will, you hang to one of them, and it shall pierce you. This is the sentence of the king. I speak it, who am the king's mouth, that you, white man, who have spoken to us and cheated us these 2 weary days, be put to death, and that you, his companion, who have been silent, be driven from the land. I can hardly bear to tell you the rest of it, Mr. Owen. They gave my poor friend 10 minutes to talk to his spirit. Then they speared him before my face. After it was over, Hokosa spoke to me, saying, Go back, white man, to those who sent you, and tell them the words of the Sons of Fire, that they have listened to the message of peace, and though they are a people of warriors, yet they thanked him for that message. For in itself it sounds good and beautiful in their ears, if it be true. Tell them that having proved you liars, they dealt with you as all honest men seek that liars should be dealt with. Tell them that they desire to hear more of this matter, and if one can be sent to them who has no false tongue, who in all things fulfills the promises of his lips, that they will hearken to him and treat him well. But that for such as you they keep a spear. And who went after you got back? Asked Owen, who was listening with the deepest interest. Who went? Do you suppose there are many mad clergymen in Africa, Mr. Owen? Nobody went. And yet, said Owen, speaking more to himself than to his guest, the man Hokosa was, and the Christian who of a truth believes the promises of our religion should trust in them and go. Then perhaps you would like to undertake the mission, Mr. Owen, said the deputation briskly. for the reflection stung him, unintentional as it was. Owen started. "That is a new idea," he said. "And now perhaps you wish to go to bed. It is past 11 o'clock. End of chapter 1. Wizard by H. Rider Haggard. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Thomas Owen. Thomas Owen went to his room, but not to bed. Taking a Bible from the table, he consulted reference after reference. "The promise is clear," he said aloud presently as he shut the book, "clear and often repeated. There is no escape from it, and no possibility of a double meaning. If it is not true, then it would seem that nothing is true, and that every Christian in the world is tricked and deluded. But if it is true, why do we never hear of miracles? The answer is easy, because we have not faith enough to work them. The apostles worked miracles, for they had seen, therefore their faith was perfect. Since their day, nobody's faith has been quite perfect, at least I think not. The physical part of our nature prevents it. Or perhaps the miracles still happen, but they are spiritual miracles." Then he sat down by the open window, and gazing at the dreamy beauty of the summer night, he thought, for his soul was troubled. Once before it had been troubled thus, that was 9 years ago, for now he was but little over 30. Then a call had come to him, a voice that seemed to speak in his ears, bidding him to lay down great possessions and to follow whither heaven should lead him. Thomas Owen had obeyed the voice, though, owing to circumstances which need not be detailed, to do so he was obliged to renounce his succession to a very large estate, and to content himself with the younger son's portion of £30,000, and the reversion to the living which he had now held for some 5 years. Then and there, with singular unanimity and dispatch, his relations came to the conclusion that he was mad. To this hour, indeed, those who stand in his place and enjoy the wealth and position that were his by right speak of him as poor Thomas, and mark their disapprobation of his peculiar conduct by refusing with an unvarying steadiness to subscribe even a single shilling to a missionary society. How poor Thomas speaks of them in the place where he is, we may wonder, but as yet we cannot know, probably with the gentle love and charity that marked his every action upon earth. But this is entered the church. But what had he done in its shadow? This was the question which Owen asked himself as he sat that night by the open window, arraigning his past before the judgment seat of conscience. For 3 years he had worked hard somewhere in the slums. Then this living had fallen to him. He had taken it, and from that day forward his record was very much of a blank. The parish was small and well ordered, there was to do in it, and the Salvation Army had seized upon and reclaimed 2 of the 3 confirmed drunkards it could boast. His guest saying echoed in his brain like the catch of a tune, that you might lead that life and attain that death. Supposing that he were bidden to do so now, this very night, would he indeed think differently? He had become a priest to serve his Maker. How would it be were that Maker to command that he should serve him in this extreme and heroic fashion? Would he flinch from the steel, or would he meet it as the martyrs met it of old? Physically, he was little suited to such an enterprise, for in appearance he was slight and pale, and in constitution delicate. Also, there was another reason against the thing. High church and somewhat ascetic in his principles, in the beginning he had admired celibacy, and in secret dedicated himself to that state. But at heart Thomas was very much a man, and of late he had come to see that which is against nature is presumably not right, though fanatics may not hesitate to pronounce it wrong. Possibly this conversion to more genial views of life was quickened by the presence in the neighborhood of a young lady whom he chanced to admire. At least it is certain that the mere thought of seeing her no more forever smote him like a sword of sudden pain. That very night, or so it seemed to him, and so he believed, the angel of the Lord stood before him as he was wont to stand before
It's
the
very
people,
religious.
and spoke a summons in his ear.
I'm not religious.
How or in what seeming the
At all.
summons came, Thomas Owen never
Superstitious,
told, and
not
we did not
religious.
inquire. At the least he heard it, and like the apostles, he arose and girded his loins to obey. For now in the hour of trial, it proved that this man's faith partook of the nature of their faith. It was utter and virgin. It was not clogged with 19th century qualifications. It had never dallied with strange doctrines or kissed the feet of pinchbeck substitutes for God. In his heart he believed that the Almighty, without intermediary, but face to face, had bidden him to go forth into the wilderness, there to perish. So he bowed his head and went. On the following morning at breakfast, Owen had some talk with his friend the deputation. "You asked me last night," he said quietly, "whether I would undertake a mission to that people of whom you were telling me, the sons of fire. Well, I have been thinking it over and come to the conclusion that I will do so." At this point, the deputation, concluding that his host must be mad, moved quietly but decidedly towards the door. "Wait a moment," went on Owen in a matter-of-fact voice. "The dog cart will not be round for another 3/4 of an hour. Tell me, if it were offered to you and on investigation you proved suitable, would you care to take over this living?" "Would I care to take over this living?" gasped the astonished deputation. "Would I care to walk down that garden and find myself in heaven? But why are you making fun of me?" "I am not making fun of you. If I go to Africa, I must give up the living, of which I own the advowson. And it occurred to me that it might suit you. That is all. You have done your share. Your health is broken, and you have many dependent upon you. It seems right, therefore, that you should rest and that I should work. If I do no good yonder, at the least you and yours will be a little benefited." That same day, Owen chanced to meet the lady who has been spoken of as having caught his heart. He had meant to go away without seeing her, but fortune brought them together. Hitherto, whilst in reality leading him on, she had seemed to keep him at a distance, with the result that he did not know that it was her fixed intention to marry him. To her, with some hesitation, he told his plans. Surprised and frightened into candor, the lady reasoned with him warmly, and when reason failed to move him, she did more. By some subtle movement, with some sudden word, she lifted the veil of her reserve and suffered him to see her heart. "If you will not stay for aught else," said her troubled eyes, "then, love, stay for me." For a moment he answered the look straight out, as was his nature. "I never guessed," he said. "I did not presume to hope. Now it is too late. Listen, I will tell you what I have told no living soul, though thereafter you may think me mad. Weak and humble as I am, I believe myself to have received a divine mission. I believe that I shall execute it or bring about its execution, but at the ultimate cost of my own life. Still, in such a service, two are better than one. If you can care enough, if you—" But the lady had already turned away and was murmuring her farewell in accents that sounded like a sob. Love and faith after this sort were not given to her. Of all Owen's trials, this was the sharpest. Of all his sacrifices, this was the most complete. End of chapter 2. By H. Rider Haggard. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 3, The Temptation. 2 years have gone by all but a few months, and from the rectory in a quiet English village, we pass to a scene in Central or South Central Africa. On the brow of a grassy slope dotted over with mimosa thorns, and close to a gushing stream of water stands a house, or rather a hut, built of green brick and thatched with grass. Behind this hut is a fence of thorns, rough but strong, designed to protect all within it from the attacks of lions and other beasts of prey. At present, save for a solitary mule eating its provender by the wheel of a tented ox wagon, it is untenanted, for the cattle have not yet been crawled for the night. Presently, Thomas Owen enters this enclosure by the back door of the hut, and having attended to the mule, which whinnies at the sight of him, goes to the gate and watches there till he sees his native boys driving the cattle up the slope of the hill. At length they arrive, and when he has counted them to make sure that none are missing, and in a few kind words commended the herds for their watchfulness, he walks to the front of the house, and seating himself upon a wooden stool set under a mimosa tree that grows near the door, he looks earnestly toward the west. The man has changed somewhat since last we saw him. To begin with, he has grown a beard, and although the hot African sun has bronzed it into an appearance of health, his face is even thinner than it was, and therein the great spiritual eyes shine still more strangely. At the foot of the slope runs a wide river, just here broken into rapids where the waters make an angry music. Beyond this river stretches a vast plain bounded on the horizon by mountain ranges, each line of them rising higher than the other, till their topmost and more distant peaks melt imperceptibly into the tender blue of the heavens. This is the land of the sons of fire, and yonder, amid the slopes of the nearest hills, is the great kraal of their king, Amsuka, whose name, being interpreted, means the thunderbolt. In the very midst of the foaming rapids, and about 1,000 yards from the house, lies a space of rippling, shallow water, where, unless it chances to be in flood, the river can be forded. It is this ford that Owen watches so intently. John should have been back 12 hours ago, he mutters to himself. I pray that no harm has befallen him at the great place yonder. Just then a tiny speck appears far away on the plain. It is a man traveling towards the water at a swinging trot. Going into the hut, Owen returns with a pair of field glasses, and through them scrutinizes the figure of the man. Heaven be praised, it is John, he mutters, with a sigh of relief. Now I wonder what answer he brings. Half an hour later, John stands before him, a stalwart native of the tribe of the Amasuka, the people of fire, and with uplifted hands salutes him, giving him titles of honor. Praise me not, John, said Owen. Praise God only, as I want you to do. Tell me, have you seen the king, and what is his word? Father, he answered, I journeyed to the great town as you bade me, and I was admitted before the majesty of the king. Yes, he received me in the courtyard of the House of Women. With his guards, who stood at a distance out of hearing, there were present 3 only. But oh, those 3 were great, the greatest in all the land after the king. They were Hafela, the king that is to come, the prince Nonwingo, his brother, and Hokosa, the terrible, the chief of the wizards. And I tell you, Father, that my blood dried up, and my heart shriveled when they turned their eyes upon me, reading the thoughts of my heart. Have I not told you, John, to trust in God and fear nothing at the hands of man? You told me, Father, but still I feared, answered the messenger humbly. Yet, being bidden to it, I lifted my forehead from the dust, and stood upon my feet before the king, and delivered to him the message which you set between my lips. Repeat the message, John. O king, I said, beneath whose footfall the whole earth shakes, whose arms stretch round the world, and whose breath is the storm. I, whose name is John, am sent by the white man, whose name is Messenger, for by that title you bade me make you known, who for a year has dwelt in the land that your spears have wasted beyond the banks of the river. These are the words which he spoke to me, O king, that I pass on to you with my tongue. To the king Amsuka, lord of the Amasuka, the sons of fire, I, messenger, who am the servant and the ambassador of the King of Heaven, give greeting. A year ago, king, I sent to you saying that the message which was brought by that white man whom you drove from your land had reached the ears of him whom I serve, the high and holy one, and that, speaking in my heart, he had commanded me to take up the challenge of your message. Here am I, therefore, ready to abide by the law which you have laid down. For if guile or lies be found in me, then let me travel from your land across the bridge of spears. Still, I would dwell a little while here where I am, before I pass into the shadow of your rule, and speak in the ears of your people as I have been bidden. Know, king, that first I would learn your tongue, and therefore I demand that one of your people may be sent to dwell with me and to teach me that tongue. King, you heard my words, and you sent me a man to dwell with me, and that man has taught me your tongue, and I also have taught him, converting him to my faith and giving him a new name, the name of John. King, now I seek your leave to visit you, and to deliver into your ears the words which I, messenger, am charged.
Just because you're not of the religion.
Thus
Whatever.
I, John, addressed the great ones, my father.
I got my own name, and that was Luke.
When I had done, they spoke together, a word here and a word there.
I did have a name.
Then Hokosa, the king's mouth, answered me, telling me the thought of the king. You're a bold man, you whose name is John, but who once had another name. You, my servant, who dare to appear before me, and to make it known to me that you have been turned to a new faith and serve another king than I.
What's your name?
Yes,
John.
Because you are bold.
What religion are you with? John.
Go back now to that white man who is named Messenger, and who comes upon an embassy to me from the Lord of heaven, and bid him come in peace. Yet warn him once again that here also we know something of the powers that are not seen. Here also we are wizards who draw wisdom from the air, who tame the thunderbolt and compel the rain, and that he must show himself greater than all of these if he would not pass hence by the bridge of spears. Let him therefore take counsel with his heart, and with him he serves, if such a one there is, and let him come, or let him stay away, as it shall please him. So be it, said Owen. The words of the king are good, and tomorrow we'll start for the great place. John heard and assented, but without eagerness. My father, he said in a doubtful and tentative voice, would it not perhaps be better to bide here a while first? Why? Asked Owen. We have sown, and now it is the hour to reap. It is so, my father, but as I ran hither, full of the king's words, it came into my mind that now is not the time to convert the sons of fire. There is trouble brewing at the great palace, father. Listen, and I will tell you. As I have heard, so I will tell you. You know well that our king Umsuka has 2 sons, Hafela and Nodwengo. And of these, Hafela is the heir apparent, the fruit of the chief wife of the king, and Nodwengo is sprung from another wife.
Wengo.
Hafela is proud and cruel, a warrior of warriors, a terrible man. And Nodwengo is gentle and mild, like to his mother whom the king loves. Of late it has been discovered that Hafela, weary of waiting for power, has made a plot to depose his father and to kill Nodwengo, his brother, so that the land and those who dwell in it may become his without question. This plot the king knows. I had it from one of his women, who is my sister, and he is very wroth. Yet he dare do little, for he grows old and timid, and seeks rest, not war. Yet he is minded, if he can find the heart, to go back upon the law, and to name Nodwengo as his heir before all the army at the feast of the firstfruits, which shall be held on the 3rd day from tonight. This Hafela knows, and Nodwengo knows it also, and each of them has summoned his following, numbering thousands and tens of thousands of spears, to attend this feast of the firstfruits.
Just going to pause out there a second, guys. Right. Yeah. What do you think? Not bad for a sketch of 37 minutes. I don't think. Blow me and trumper. There's what I'm drawing from. I might have missed a few bits. Not made him as tall and thin, I don't think. But hopefully I've captured the ornament itself. Yeah. This was a bit hard to draw because it's so dark and shaded. Like I can't really see where the intricate little lines are. I say dark and shaded, but it's a dark light, so I can't really see. You can see as much as I can see, basically. You can see that I couldn't really figure out how to get that piece in the get a bit closer. Get that piece there to match with that piece, as you can see there. But hopefully I haven't done too badly. And as always, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on what I've drawn, what you think of it. As 38 minutes, that's the quickest drawing I've ever done. I don't know if I need to put any more in there. What do you reckon? Do you reckon I need to put any more in there? I kind of feel like I'm done. As a sketch, it's all right. I could maybe put some color in there, but like I said, I don't want to color everything in. I don't want to, I don't want to color it in because of Inktober. I want to keep it as a black and white, but maybe a bit of hint of color in certain areas. But I think if I start doing that, I'm going to end up coloring the whole thing in. So let's get my Copic marker colors out. And what colors have we got? Working with that one, a little bit of that one, maybe a little bit of that one. Don't have any white, so that's going to be a thing. I can't do skin tone, but I wouldn't color that in. What I might do, what I do now actually, is I'll take a picture of this on my phone. I can upload it to the computer at a point. That's raining again. Oh, that's another picture. If you didn't check it out, guys, that was my Spider-Man week, where I did some. If you know when the latest Spider-Man came out, film-wise, there was a VR version, and me and my boy, me and my son, we had a go at that. He was being my guy in the chair, and directing me and stuff. I go, if that's all in the VR, all VR playlist. But yeah, what was I doing? Taking a picture. Dog. Squeak, 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 squeak. Nope. That's me. There's my camera as well. It's the camera I'm using. Yep. No, not on video. I want to flip the camera. Flip. Yeah, so I'm going to take a quick pic on my phone. When I go to digitize it, I can. So what I like, another reason that having all this in black and white is it's a good way of digitizing things. You take it off your phone, or you can take it off. You take a picture of it on your tablet or your handheld camera, any kind of thing. You can do a screenshot and things like that. If you guys do screenshots, I'd love to see what you do with my images. Definitely head over to Instagram and show me what you've done with them. That'd be absolutely awesome if you did that. But yeah, I don't mind sharing my artworks, guys, but don't be an arse and call it yourself. Call it yours. If you're going to do something with it, then let me know you've done something with it, and I'll give you some praise, because I'm always up for people seeing what else people can do with what I've created and stuff like that. That's why I do YouTube, guys. It's not because I want to keep everything secret. It's all to share what I can do, what I've been able to do in the past 2 years. Since smacking my head, lost a lot of ability and stuff like that. Yeah, I've gone back into drawing. I did give up drawing for about 4 years. I gave up, and well, I've come back to it. And Inktober was the challenge that I set myself. I set myself the book from last year to finish that book and get ready for Inktober, and that's what I've done. We're on day 17, and I want to carry on doing a bit more doodling. So that's listen a bit more.
That feast may well be a feast of vultures, my father. And when the brothers and their regiments rush together fighting for the throne, what will chance to the white man who comes at such a moment to preach a faith of peace, and to his servant, one John, who led him there? I do not know, answered Owen, and it troubles me not at all. I go to carry out my mission, and in this way or in that it will be carried out. John, if you are fearful or unbelieving, leave me to go alone. Nay, father, I am not fearful. Yes, father, I would have you understand. Yonder there are men who can work wizardry. Wow, I know, for I have seen it, and they will demand from you magic greater than their magic. What of it, John? Only this, my father, that if they ask and you fail to give, they will kill you. You teach beautiful things, but say, are you a wizard? When the child of a woman yonder lay dead, you could not raise it as did the Christ. When the oxen were sick with the pest, you could not cure them. At least, my father, you did not, although you wept for the child and were sorry at the loss of the oxen. Now, my father, if perchance they ask you to do such things as these yonder, or die, say what will happen. One of two things, John. Either I shall die, or I shall do the things. But, hesitated John, surely you do not believe that, and he broke off. Owen turned round and looked at his disciple with kindling eyes. I do believe, O ye of little faith, he said. I do believe that yonder I have a mission, and that he whom I serve will give me power to carry out that mission. You are right, I can work no miracles, but he can work miracles, whom everything in heaven and earth obeys, and if there is need, he will work them through me, his instrument. Or perhaps he will not work them, and I shall die, because thus his ends will best be forwarded. At the least, I go in faith, fearing nothing, for what has he to fear who knows the will of God and does it? But to you who doubt, I say, leave me. The man spread out his hands in deprecation. His thick lips trembled a little, and something like a tear appeared at the corners of his eyes. Father, he said, am I a coward that you should talk to me thus? I who for 20 years have been a soldier of my king, and for 10 a captain in my regiment? These scars show whether or no I am a coward. And he pointed to his breast. But of them I will not speak. I am no coward, else I had not gone upon that errand of yours. Why then should you reproach me because my ears are not so open as yours, as my heart has not understanding? I worship that God of whom you have taught me, but he never speaks to me as he does to you. I never meet him as I walk at night. He leaves me quite alone. Therefore it is that I fear that when the hour of trial comes, he may desert you. And unless he covers you with his shield, of this I am sure, that the spear is forged which shall blush red in your heart, my father. It is for you that I fear, who are so gentle and tender, not for myself, who am well accustomed to look in the eyes of death, and whom expect no more than death. Forgive me, said Owen hastily, for he was moved, and be sure that the shield will be over us till the time comes for us to pass whither we shall need none. That night Owen rose from the task at which he was laboring slowly and painfully, a translation of passages from the Gospel of John into the language of the Amasuka. And going to the open window place of the hut, he rested his elbows upon it and thought, staring with empty eyes into the blackness of the night. Now it was, as he sat thus, that a great agony of doubt took possession of his soul. The strength which hitherto had supported him seemed to be withdrawn, and he was left, as John had said, quite alone. Strange voices seemed to whisper in his ears, reproaching and reviling him. Temptations long ago trampled underfoot rose again in might, alluring him. Fool, said the voices, get you hence before it is too late. You have been mad, you who dreamed that for your sake, to satisfy your pride, the Almighty will break his silence and strain his law. Are you then better, or greater, or purer than millions who have gone before you, that for you and you alone this thing should be done? Why, were it not that you were mad, you would be among the chief of sinners, you who dare to ask that the powers of heaven should be set within your feeble hand, that the angels of heaven should wait upon your mortal breath. Worm that you are, has God need of such as you? If it is his will to turn the heart of yonder people, he will do it, but not by means of you. You and the servant whom you are deluding to his death will perish miserably, and this alone shall be the fruit of your presumptuous sin. Get you back out of this wilderness before the madness takes you afresh. You are still young, you have wealth. Look where she stands yonder, whom you desire. Get you back, and forget your folly in her arms. These thoughts, and many others of like nature, tore Owen's soul in that hour of strange and terrible temptation. He seemed to see himself standing before the thousands of the savage nation that he went to save, and to hear the mocking voices of their witch-finders commanding him, if he were a true man and the servant of that God of whom he prated, to give them a sign, only a little sign, perhaps to move a stone without touching it with his hand, or to cause a dead bough to blossom. Then he would beseech heaven with frantic prayers, and in vain, till at length, amidst a roar of laughter, he, the false prophet and the liar, was led out to his doom. He saw the piteous, wondering look of the believer whom he had betrayed to death. He saw the fierce faces and the spears on high. Seeing all this, his spirit broke, and just as the little clock in the room behind him struck the first stroke of midnight, with a great and bitter cry to God to give him back the faith and strength that he had lost, Owen's head fell forward, and he sank into a swoon there upon the window place. End of chapter 3. Or of the Wizard by H. Rider Haggard. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The vision. Was it swoon or sleep? At least it seemed to Owen that presently once again he was gazing into the dense, intolerable blackness of the night. Then a marvel came to pass, for the blackness opened, or rather on it, framed and surrounded by it, there appeared a vision. It was the vision of a native town, having a great bare space in the center of it, encircled by hundreds or thousands of huts. But there was no one stirring about the huts, for it was night. Not this, his night of trial indeed, since now the sky was strewn with innumerable stars. Everything was silent about that town, save that now and again a dog barked, or a fretful child wailed within a hut, or the sentries as they passed saluted each other in the name of the king. Among all those hundreds of huts, to Owen it seemed that his attention was directed to one which stood apart, surrounded with a fence. Now,
Okay, we've hit 50 minutes. Just gone, and yeah, I'm gonna stop there. If I start putting extra color on there, it's gonna end up being a bit over convoluted, and I don't want to color the whole thing in. So there's what I've drawn. I mean, so there's what the image that the ornament that I've been using. Because today's word was ornament. I picked something off my shelf, and here we go. That's what I've been drawing, and that is what I've drawn. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Hopefully you've liked the video. Hopefully you've liked the audiobook in the background. Eventually, like I said, I will put those up on so you can see them and listen to them for your very own and have a go at drawing your very own ornament. If you've got an ornament around, let me know what you've drawn, guys, over on Instagram. My name again is Blut084, BLUT084, art and games. Thanks for watching. Click the links that will appear if you're watching back, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.